This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and colder, it can really take a toll on how we feel. Maybe that means calling your grandma, writing a letter to your friend, finally grabbing lunch with someone you haven't seen in a while. And just like reaching out to a friend, starting therapy can take a bit of courage. BetterHelp makes it easy to start therapy. You'll be matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences so you can focus on your growth and goals. Not happy with your match? You can switch therapists anytime with no hassle. This month, don't wait to reach out, whether that's checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself. BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PFF. That's betterhelp.com/PFF. At LSU at Alabama, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Can LSU shock Alabama in the first game of the post-Brian Kelly era? So after losing in really embarrassing fashion, they got blown out by Texas A&M a couple weeks ago at home. LSU decided to part ways with head coach Brian Kelly after 4 seasons on the job. Their running backs coach, Frank Wilson, will serve as the Tigers' interim head coach for the final 4 games of the year. And that starts this weekend after a bye week against really LSU's biggest rival in Alabama. Alabama has won its last 7 games and is ranked in the top 5, even though LSU doesn't really have any college football playoff hopes anymore with 3 losses on the year. They can still take pride in delivering a major blow to the Crimson Tide at home too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you talk about this sort of rivalry game and LSU, and I think so much, and part of the reason Brian Kelly was fired was because for multiple years now, they've had so much potential. Yeah. They have a boatload of talent. That's not you and all your 5-star guys going there, and, DJ Pickett and some of the guys on the outside, they're getting the recruiting class. I have Trey'Dez Green's a freak. It's not like they're short on talent. A couple of spots are struggling. We know the offensive line we've talked about a lot, but they're not short on talent. It's short on execution and just certain parts of their team. It just doesn't fit together, right? But when this LSU team is on, especially defensively the way they have been for most of the year, especially on the back end, they are a threat. Alabama cannot take this game lightly at all, despite LSU's situation. It's still a rivalry game. It's still a very talented team coming in there, and a quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier who's tough as nails and still wants to win games down the stretch here.
So you have the Alabama offense with one of the top Heisman candidates right now in Ty Simpson going against a great LSU secondary. Dalton, what should we know in that matchup?
Yeah, the secondary's been outstanding. The pass rush, not quite as much. They're 88th in the country, LSU is, in pass rush grade. And one thing that jumps out at you when you watch them is that they have a hard time getting home without blitzing. When they just send 4, there just isn't quite enough there, and they're asking their secondary to do a lot, especially against mobile quarterbacks, right? So when you look at this LSU team, they're 16th in the nation in pass blitz rate. And on those blitzes, when they do blitz, they're 10th in the nation in pressure rate. Now, Alabama, kind of mediocre when it comes to picking up blitzes. This has been an issue for a couple of years now with them picking up blitzes with their offensive line. 74th in the nation in pressure rate. Not terrible, also not great. Ty Simpson, the performance also dips a little bit. 75 passing grade against the blitz, which is solid but not outstanding, with 6 big-time throws and 6 turnover-worthy plays. So the decision-making there for Simpson when he is rushed in the pocket gets a little bit shaky at times. So I think that's going to be a big thing for Alabama in these passing situations. Can they decipher these blitzes and get them picked up with their offensive line? Because they're not a team that likes to use extra protection. They're outside the top 100 when it comes to having extra pass protectors, the backs or the tight ends helping out in the sheer volume of doing that. So they got to pick it up with their front 5, and Ty Simpson has to know where his hots are against these Blake Baker blitz packages.
I have a very similar matchup. It's LSU's offensive line against Alabama's pass rush. Really, it's weakness on weakness in that one. Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback, he entered the year as one of the top favorites to win the Heisman Trophy and also be the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. But he hasn't quite lived up to that level this year. The biggest reason for that, really, is because of how much this offensive line has struggled after losing 4 starters to the NFL, including a top 5 pick in Will Campbell. LSU right now is only 94th in team pass blocking grade this year. And since week 7, LSU has a 45.4 pass blocking grade. That's the 6th worst mark in the entire country right now. So over the last, I think, 3 games for LSU, it has been a disaster with that offensive line right now. But the good news for them, they could potentially get right this week, considering Alabama has the 9th worst pass rush grade in the Power 4 right now. The Crimson Tide also only have 25 total pressures this year within 2.5 seconds. Now, why is that important in this game? Because Garrett Nussmeier does a great job of getting rid of the football quickly with his offensive line struggling. Garrett Nussmeier has an average time to throw of 2.45 seconds. That's the magic number for me, is 2.5 seconds. Can Garrett Nussmeier, can Alabama get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier within 2.5 seconds in this game? Garrett Nussmeier has still been really freaking good from a clean pocket right now. 85.6 PFF grade when kept clean. He's not as good under pressure, though, and we know that because he's not as mobile and he's not as calm under pressure as some other quarterbacks. So Alabama has got to win up front quickly in this game because he is going to get rid of the football very, very quickly. He's done it before in LSU's wins over Clemson and other schools as well. You got to get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier quickly, or else he could potentially have some success. But I will say Alabama's secondary has been outstanding this year too. So maybe if Alabama can hold up in coverage enough, that'll give the pass rush more time to get home to Garrett Nussmeier.
Fun matchups on the outside that we're going to see, and I'm so curious to see what Kane Womack has planned for Trey Green, the big 6'7" tight end who's been just mauling people in these one-on-one matchups, going up and basically just rebounding footballs on the field. No, I think you're absolutely right, though, is the big problem for LSU has been their offensive line and not being physical enough. Not being able to run the football. Going to be tough in this game, too, with big Tim Keenan in there on the inside and the way Alabama's linebackers are playing. So, once again, it's a game Nussmeier is going to have to try to win, but if you don't protect him, that doesn't matter because, look, Alabama had a couple of years there where Jaden Daniels tore him apart, but he's a whole lot more mobile than Garrett Nussmeier. This is really a problem, is up front. Yanze Pierre is a big guy I'm looking at for Alabama. He's the guy that's been bringing the pressure here lately for Alabama alongside LT Overton. I think those two guys are in the spotlight again.
So, neither of us thought that Auburn would have the dead cat bounce after firing Hugh Freeze. Would LSU get a dead cat bounce after firing Brian Kelly, or will Alabama survive in this rivalry game?
Oh, that's messed up too, man, because both their mascots are cats.
Oh, jeez.
That's
that's tough.
That's tough. Well, Penn State too, kind of. Well, no, they didn't have the same thing. They didn't have it.
No, they didn't have it.
No, they didn't have it. But I mean, either way, man, that's tough.
They haven't won a game since they fired
An
James
actual
Franklin.
dead cat bounce. That's
they haven't
tough.
won a game since they fired James Franklin, by the way. Some would say it's probably going to be a trend in the future.
If only there was a college football draft.
If only there was a show that told you don't do that. Here we
Well,
are.
that's your show.
That's my show. Actually, it's my show.
But, anyway, LSU certainly has – when you have Garrett Nussmeier, you have a chance for sure. And Alabama's pass rush is less of a threat than a Texas A&M with a Cassius Howell or some of the other teams they've played so far. But Overton and Pierre have been playing well of late. Alabama's secondary is still really good. And you still have Ty Simpson. You still have, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb calling plays. You have Ryan Williams on the outside. Jeremy Bernard has been great. I do think Alabama comes away with this win. I feel comfortable about them at home. LSU's just got flaws in the trenches, and that's really the biggest issue for them, especially on the offensive line. And this is a game, once again, where, look, we may not love Alabama's pass rush, but the run defense is pretty darn good, especially Tim Keenan and Deontay Lawson in the middle there, and the secondary is still really darn good. I think they get it done. Alabama 31, LSU 21.
I have Alabama winning as well, 30-23. I think both Ty Simpson and Garrett Nussmeier will have ample time to throw in this one, but Ty Simpson has been a little bit better from a clean pocket this year, so it will be close, but I think LSU won't ultimately be able to pull it off on the road after firing Brian Kelly. I think Alabama will survive with a 30-23 final score.